Specifix Prep here. We're going to talk about critical reading today. Specifically, we're going to talk about a very frustrating scenario that a lot of students find themselves in, and that is when you have, you've been doing a good job, you've been getting rid of answer choices, but you still have more than one answer choice that feels like it could be correct. You could make an argument for. So we're going to talk about a few strategies for getting rid of answer choices when you're down to 2 or 3 that you think are okay. And that deals with subjectivity, right? A lot of students say, well, I feel like I can make an argument for several of these answer choices. That is, this could be right or this could be right. I can make an argument for both. And I'm going to show you how to sort of deal with these situations. One big point that I want to make up front is we are not talking about finding the right answer. We are talking about finding the wrong answer. And it's really important to say, I'm going to find the answer that's worse and get rid of it and then circle the remaining answer, as opposed to I'm going to try to find the better of the 2 answer choices. So that's a really important guiding principle. So let's dive right in. The first thing that I want you to check for is that the answer choice is answering the question that's being asked. Oftentimes, ETS will throw in an answer choice that has direct support from the passage. That is, you can point and you can say, hey, there's a reason this is supported by the passage, but it doesn't actually answer the question that's being asked. So we're going to see an example of that in a second, but you want to make sure that, first of all, you want to get rid of any answer choice that doesn't actually answer the question that's being asked. So that's the first thing I want you to check for. The second thing I want you to check for is I want you to make sure that you like everything that's in the answer choice. And this is called the half right answer. A lot of times ETS will give you an answer choice that starts off really good. It almost matches up exactly with what you said, or maybe not exactly, but the second half of the answer choice, maybe the last 2 words, the last word, is off a little bit, and you feel it in the back of your brain. There's something wrong with the rest, the second half of this answer choice, but you ignore that impulse. And I want you to pay attention to that. They do that on purpose. A lot of times students will say, I like the first half of this answer choice enough to pick it, even though I don't like the second half of it. And that's bad. You don't want to do that. You want to get rid of those. They're traps. So those are half right answers, and a lot of students fall for those. Make sure you get rid of those. The third thing I want you to get rid of is an answer choice that is technically true, but goes beyond the passage. A lot of times ETS will throw a subject that you might know a little bit about at you in one of the passages, and then throw in an answer choice that is technically true in the universe of this sort of subject, but not directly supported by the passage itself. And again, we'll see an example of that. So those are 3 things that I want you to keep in mind when you are dealing with situations in which you have, you've done a good job. Again, you've crossed off answer choices, but you still have 2, maybe 3 left over. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. So this is going to be a little unusual because I'm not giving you the passages. I'm just sort of going through some hypothetical scenarios. So you're going to have to sort of accept the setups. All right, so let's look at number 22. It says, in describing the shortcomings of a single-payer healthcare system, the author cites which of the following. So this is clearly a persuasive passage about why a single-payer healthcare system is not a good idea. Now, this does not have a line reference, right? So this is one of those fetch questions where you have to sort of, go through the entire passage and find it, right? And this is actually a really good example of when knowing something about the topic that's being discussed, it can actually sort of bite you in the butt. It's not a good thing. So I remember something in the passage about talked about increased costs, right? So I look at the answer choices and I say lower average policy costs, and I say, that might be good. But then I remember, so I'm just going to leave that for now. Yeah, I'll just leave that for now. Diminished access to service. That certainly seems bad. And I remember talking about services, so I'm just going to leave that for now, right? Less vigorous competition among providers. I'm not quite sure what vigorous means, so I'm just going to be honest with myself and put a question mark there. More entrenched bureaucracies. Okay, I don't know what that means either. And then fewer consumer options. Okay, it doesn't talk about that at all. I don't remember him talking about that at all, so I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so let's just say that we're in this scenario, right? And I'm sure a lot of you don't feel like this is a very foreign situation, right? You have more than one answer choice left. So remember the 3 tips that I gave you. You want to answer the question that's being asked. You want to get rid of half right answers, and then you want to also get rid of answer choices that aren't directly supported by the passage. That is, they go beyond the passage. So look at this first one. It says lower average policy cost. And while I remember seeing something about costs, this is about lower costs for the consumer, right? So that's actually not a shortcoming, right? That's a good thing. So this is something that's true, right? And it may even be discussed in the passage, but it doesn't answer the question that's being asked. And that's really important, and that means I'm getting rid of answer choice A. Make sense? Okay, the next one is diminished access to services. All right, I do remember seeing that in there, so I'm going to leave that for now. Now, because I don't know what C and D mean, that is, I'm uncomfortable with the vocabulary, I can't really do much with these. Because I don't know what vigorous means, and this answer choice sort of depends on that definition, and then bureaucracies. So because I like B, and I have question marks, I'm going to go with B, but you have to sort of recognize that vocabulary makes these questions, make this question a lot more difficult than it should be. We'll say B is the correct answer, which it actually is, and we'll move on to the next one, okay? So the first tip that you took away from that one is make sure you're answering the question that's being asked. That's how we got rid of A. Okay, the next question that we're going to look at says the sinking feeling, line 52, can best be described as. And again, I'm going to look back at the passage. I'm going to read around 52. And let's say that my answer was the author was disappointed in someone in the passage, right? Like, you know, they let him down, right? So that's a pretty good answer in my own words. I'm going to start to look at the answer choices, right? So again, I go to A, we go to the narrator's apprehension towards an unwelcome outcome. And I say, apprehension, maybe I'm not 100% comfortable with that word, so I'm going to put a question mark. Let's look at B, a character's reaction against social norms. That doesn't have anything to do with what we said, so we're going to get rid of that. C, the protagonist's lowered opinion of someone he once respected. That's actually pretty close to what we said, so we're going to put a check mark. And then D, someone coming to terms with an unexpected disappointment. And you go, ooh, that's also really close to what I said. So I'm going to put a check mark there, right? And lastly, an indictment of narrow-minded preconceptions. That is certainly going to be a question mark if you don't know what indictment means, if you don't know what preconceptions means. So you want to make sure that you put a question mark here. So we have one of these scenarios. Okay, so again, we're stuck in a scenario in which we have more than one answer choice left. We haven't got rid of enough. So let's remember the tips that I provided. Remember, the first one was it has to answer the question that's being asked. That doesn't seem to be helpful on any of these answer choices. The second tip was the half-right answers, right? And that is, if there's something wrong with the second half of the answer choice, we really need to get rid of it, right? And here I look at C and I see that it says someone he once respected. And nowhere in the passage does it say he once respected this person. You may assume it may imply that, but there's no direct support for that. So as a result, even though we love the first half of this paragraph, this answer choice, the once respected has no textual support. Therefore, it is a half-right answer, and I'm going to get rid of it. He's certainly disappointed, right? There's nothing wrong with that here. He's coming to terms with it. So D we're going to leave. And again, A and E, sort of not going to do anything with because they have vocabulary, and with question marks, you just have to leave them as wildcards. So again, we're going to go with D. D is the correct answer. So we lucked out with vocabulary, but that's not really the point of these questions. Okay, so let's try one more. All right. In line 32, the author's attitude towards his new surroundings can best be described as. So first of all, attitude questions are typically pretty difficult for a lot of students. So I want you to really be careful with questions that deal with attitude and tone because it's not always easy to figure out. But in this case, I feel comfortable enough to answer in my own words, and I say that he has sort of gived in, right? Like he's sort of accepting what is happening. Okay, so that's my answer. He's giving in. And obviously, if you want to write the answer on your test, it's always a great idea. Okay, so we have measured ambivalence. Again, vocabulary is going to be the death of a lot of students on this test, so just study. Remember, check out those flashcards I have posted. Put a question mark because I don't know what ambivalence means, right? Resigned indifference. Okay, I know that he's giving in, so I like resigned, right? Indifference, I don't know. But we're going to leave it for now because resigned's really good. Veiled hostility. Okay, that doesn't match what I said. Begrudging acceptance. That also sort of means giving in. and then ebullient and gratitude. Okay, I don't know what ebullient means, but gratitude doesn't seem to be supported either. So in this case, I actually have a question mark, but I can get rid of it because half of it I know is wrong. Okay, so we're left with B and D, right? A is still in because we don't know what ambivalence means. But again, we're going to think back to the advice. Answers the question that's being asked, directly supported by the passage, that is, it's within the passage, and half right. So let's focus on half right for this one because there's 2 words in each of the answer choices. So I really liked resigned, but indifference. What does indifference mean? Indifference means you don't care, right? And that does not match what I said. So I'm really not happy with this second word. And again, ETS is going to do this a lot. They'll give you a great first word and a bad second word, or a good first half and a bad second half. As a result, I say this one is half right, and I am going to get rid of it. You cross off B. Again, A, not much I can do with because I don't know what ambivalence means, but I like both parts of D. Begrudging acceptance, he gave in. So I'm going to go with D. So those are the 3 things I really want you to take away from this, this little exercise is, again, answers the question that's being asked in the passage, and not half right. You want to answer choice that's all right. Okay, cool. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Remember, with reading, it's really important to have a systematic approach. If you're down to more than one answer choice, make sure you ask yourself, does each of the answer choices answer the question that is being asked? Does it have direct support in the passage? Does it go beyond the passage? And is it half right? My personal favorite. That is there something that you just shouldn't like about the second half of one or more of the answer choices? If you do those things, your score will go up. There's no question in my mind. These are the 3 things that ETS loves doing on answer choices that sort of makes questions fool otherwise very competent students. So pay attention to these things, heed my advice, and practice, right? Go through the test, use this advice, and practice. All right, so see you guys in a few weeks.